hi, everybody. It's Mindy, Ed, and Don Rickles podcast. You know us. I'm Ed Mann.
And I'm Mindy Rickles.
And we're going to do, well, I guess it's a rerun, right?
Right.
Yeah.
It's a rerun.
We're going to rerun because, well, this is one of the first ones we did, and we wanted to bring it up to the top of the queue so you guys can hear this. And we're also getting ready for a huge interview coming up.
That's right. I'm very excited.
We're not going to give away the name yet because he'll hear it and go, I didn't say I was doing it on Thursday or whatever, right? So, but it's big. No, we're not going to overpromise. We're not going to underdeliver. We're going to promise and say what we did, and this is what we're doing, and that's right. The deal. So this one is when your dad did the White House.
That's right, yes.
And we thought we'd bring this up because obviously there's so much going on in D.C.
That's right.
And I don't know how much your dad would approve of it or not, or your mother, but that's besides the point. It was a different time when Reagan.
Completely different time.
Right, when Reagan did.
And it was all bright and shiny because a lot of people loved Reagan. So it was a very happy time.
Yes, and there was a lot of china sitting around on the tables.
That's
right.
Yeah.
So there was a huge dinner, and you know what we got, actually? And this, we found this out in your mom's house. All of the invites. And the tags and the security passes.
Yes.
Remember that?
That was really fascinating to see all the, different steps you have to go through, obviously, to get through with kind of security.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
So anyway, let's go ahead and rerun it. This is Don Does the White House on Mindy, Ed, and Don Rickles. We're also going to talk about eating habits with our families and about your dad's appearance, of course, on the Reagan Inaugural. Enjoy, everybody.
Good morning, honey. I'm sorry.
Good morning, my dear. Hi. Hey, this is Mindy and Ed and Don Rickles. It's everyone's new favorite podcast.
That's right.
Do you think?
I think so. Yes, I do.
Well, we're going to make that happen. It's just the way it's going to be.
Okay.
Anyway, this is, my wife is Mindy Rickles, famed stand-up comic herself. And me, I'm Ed. I used to work on the radio. And now I do this. I try to make everybody happy.
Try to make Mindy happy is what you do. That's right.
So we're going to pick a topic and chat about that and just see if anyone gives a shit. I thought maybe today because we had this great dinner the other night.
Oh, we did.
Yeah. We're not going to plug the restaurant, but it was this restaurant that was set up. It's like a wine place.
Right. It was like you were in the middle. You drove to the middle of nowhere, like to no man's land. And then all of a sudden, there was absolutely the most magnificent restaurant. It was so gorgeous. When you walked in, you couldn't even believe you were there. It was like the desert and then suddenly this incredible restaurant.
It was like an industrial area.
Right.
Like it's parked in between a toe shop and a junk dealer.
When you said a toe shop, I thought like a shop selling toes, like a pedicure, a toe shop. That's my mind. That's how I think.
Right. But it's more like a towing place.
Right.
Car gets towed and they store it and then they junk your car if you don't pick it up. And on the other side of the street's the Four Seasons. So they parked this restaurant in there, and it's lovely. I mean, we walked in, we thought we were like, somewhere in West Hollywood or something, right?
Right. No, it was fabulous, and I had fish because I usually like to have a pasta. I usually like to have a bolognese wherever I go, whether it be Italian, Mexican, Chinese. I want a bolognese because that's like my favorite food. But I didn't get that. I got fish because I wanted to be like an LA woman, one of these LA women that just eat fish, or these Beverly Hills women that just have a little piece of fish on a bed of kale. So that's what I wanted to have. But it was actually really fabulous.
They lead lives of quiet desperation, and yet you never seem to be quite desperate as they are.
Yeah, that's right.
You seem to be okay. Well, yeah, I mean, I do that too, but only because I'm not a kid and having fish is probably healthier. I don't know, but whatever.
Yeah.
I decided on this ravioli and butter sauce, and it was absolutely delicious. But it was funny because we're kind of foodies, Mindy and I. It's a little pretentious, let's face it. I mean, you walk in, and this place was particularly so, and they had a whole rack of wines.
Oh, that's right. And it was like a wine tasting wall, which I've never seen anything like it, where you get like a little glass. It was like being at, a yogurt shop, like whatever. Oh, I can't
Like
remember
Yogurt
the name
Land.
of Yogurt Land, whatever, and
Right.
you get a different type of wine, which I didn't really know what wine was what. I like it
And you
dry.
put in a card, and then
Right.
it just determines how much the wine is. And then if you kind of go through the whole rack, I mean, it's like $1,000 or something
That's
stupid.
right.
But I'm sure that's their moneymaker.
Right.
But they had all these really incredibly classic wines, like the world's best rosé, and all of
Right.
this. And I thought, this is a little over the top. But
I know. And I didn't want to get up because I don't like to have to walk anywhere. So I just stayed in my seat. I was going to have you go get it. But then I thought, I can't even be bothered because I'll just order a glass of wine at the table. And
Right.
then I also, I always have to have bread and butter. And it's like they did not have bread and butter. And I kept saying, hi, could I get a little bread and butter? Thanks. And then no one would come by and I'd be like, hi.
That'll
can I
be
get a little-"
$40.
Yeah. And can I get a little bread and butter? Thanks.
But
And,
they're doing that
no one
now.
comes by.
They're charging you for bread. This is
Oh,
what's
that's
happening.
right. That's right. That's really crazy. They're charging
gone
you
the
for
way of,
bread.
like-
If you're like, could I get a fork? That's $10. Yeah, exactly.
It's like getting a pillow in Southwest Airlines. It's like, well, that'll be a lot of
Actually,
money.
they had pillows. If you recall, they had these big velvet pillows, which I loved because, I can lean on that because I need that extra, back support because I'm
Well,
not.
and knowing you checked first for stains.
That's right.
Which
Well,
was,
that's a whole other episode. But yes, that's correct.
right.
I do check for that. I
Well,
mean, I can't stand having stains. And that's from when I was a little girl because my mother said, this sounds so pretentious, that I had this nanny that used to change my dresses. Like anytime I had a spot on something, she would change me. So that's why my mother said it's not her fault. I'm scarred for life and I can't stand having a stain like on anything. Like, as you know, if we go to a
Right.
hotel, if I see a stain on the rug, it's like, what's going to happen? They have to remove the rug. They have to bring in another rug. They have to, if I see something on a lampshade, the lamp has to go, the shade goes, they come back with another lamp and another shade. And that's your job to tell them because I just go, Ed, you need to tell them that. And then I just sit there quietly in the corner and you
well, this
have to say that.
Yeah, this all comes from having a nanny until you were about 30.
Right,
So,
that's right. I went from a nanny to you. That's
That's
correct. So stains are just a problem. I like gag. It's like if you see, if you're afraid of mice, like I'm afraid of a stain. And, now I use that Tide stick, which I got to tell you is the best invention ever. I wear it like on a necklace around, like whatever when you get elderly and you wear the necklace and you fall. And
Right.
that's like me with the Tide stick on a chain around my neck
Right.
because you never know when there's going to be a stain and I got to whip out that Tide stick.
Well, it could make
start
you pass
cleaning
out at
something.
the mere sight of it. So it's
I know,
like,
I know.
I've fallen and I can't get up. Where's my
That's right.
Tide stick?
That's right.
So you use that thing. But before the Tide sticks, you might remember this.
Yes,
We would travel.
you know exactly. Wait,
You know where I'm going. So we went to a hotel. I think it was the Stanhope in New York.
Oh, that's right. It was an older hotel. Yeah, it was
Exactly.
really nice, but it was an older
Very
hotel.
nice.
That's correct.
We thought, oh, wow, we had this great deal. We thought, wow, we're getting a great deal at the Stanhope right
Right.
across from the
That's right.
Metropolitan Museum in New York.
Right,
And I
right.
thought, oh, this is going to be fantastic. We get into the room, and the first thing you see, I think it was the lampshade cord.
Wait, the cord
And-
had a stain?
Yes.
How is that possible?
I don't,
Are you talking about the
Good to the
cord? No,
point.
no. You're talking about the cords from the drapes.
drapes, rather.
Because
right.
the lampshade cord is not going to be fabric.
No.
Okay, the cord.
You're right.
See, I can't remember any, but now I remember the cord on the
Well,
drape
all these
was like
fancy
fabric.
terms.
Yeah.
Right. So it was a fabric cord. And before they had Tide sticks, they had whiteout.
But
so,
you know what? Well, how did we even get whiteout? How did we
I
even
had to go
have
get it. Like, Ed,
Seriously, you had to go get whiteout? That's like,
go to
when
Dwayne Reed and get some
when
whiteout.
you get paper, you make a mistake in the olden days, 1911, you would take this liquid whiteout like paint and paint out. I don't even know if they do that anymore, do they? They don't
don't
call
know.
it whiteout. They call it something else.
I don't
But
know.
yes, you had to get whiteout. No one's even going to understand this. And you had to basically paint the cord for the drapes.
Right.
Because
And
it was
you would have
like
thought housekeeping would have handled that, but no.
I thought it had stains on it. I thought like hands had been on it that weren't clean because it was kind of a brownie color, and that made me gag, and I wasn't going to be able to stay in the room anymore. And then if I think I saw a spot on the ceiling, which is absurd. How could there be a spot? And Ed, you had to come in with the ladder.
That's right. It was
and
over
he
the
got to
bed.
get up. He got to get up like on a ladder. I don't know. They
It's
had to
like-
call the janitor, and he had to do like painting. He had to basically paint the ceiling.
It was like
We
somebody
were
was
only
having-
there for a couple of days.
Right, but they were like people were dipping French fries and tossing them to the ceiling like it was a game show.
Ketchup.
Yeah, and it was like
That's right.
going
So
on?
Ed had to come in because I'd say, which I always do, Ed, could you go to the store and get a ladder, get a paintbrush, get a bucket of white paint? I'll be seeing, a carousel on Broadway.
I mean, I used to like my name. I used to like it when people said, "Hey, Ed." I thought, "Oh, that's a pleasant sounding name." And now it's just Ed.
And even my dad used to imitate
All the
me saying Ed.
time.
When I come over, he'd be like, Ed.
Oh, well, and then he started doing it because he needed something, So it's like, like we dropped by, it was like, Ed? It's like, oh, what?
And
You
then
lost
it'd
the
be,
remote?
Ed.
Yeah, I lost the remote. Okay, well, where's the remote? I don't know. That's why I'm asking for you.
Ed.
Ed.
Yeah, constantly.
Yeah.
I know.
But back to the food. I mean, it's like, so the food doesn't always go in our mouths, apparently, but it goes on, drapery hooks and ceilings.
It flies across the room.
It flies across the
no.
room because Americans are slobs, and that's just the way it's always been. But we get by, with
we
our
do.
paltry lives,
Yeah.
and seem to put two and two together. But your parents,
Oh, that's right.
they love
Well, eating, yes. I
but-
grew up that eating was, like a central part of our lives. It wasn't like my parents were chemists, like one was a chemist, one was a neurosurgeon. No, they just were like, eaters. They ate. That was
Right.
a huge thing. It was the comedy and the eating. And
Yes.
wherever everything was about going to dinner. You go to dinner and you eat, and that's the central part of your day. That's the central part of your life. Nothing really happens during the day. It was like, the
Nothing
life
else
of-
mattered.
That's right. Nighttime is when things happen. It's going on. There's a lot of snapping and a lot of movement, and we're going to eat. We're going to a restaurant, going to a fancy restaurant, and there's always food. And I always said this about my dad. Like, he loved pasta too. He's like, I love to have a bowl of pasta, but he couldn't always eat it. He had diabetes. And, my mother would say, you're going to have a piece of fish, And he was like, oh, I don't want the fish. I want the pasta. But the point was, my mother could eat during the day, like on the Atkins diet. She'd eat like little piece of toast, and then a little tiny half a papaya with like a drop of chicken salad, and then it was dinner. And then at dinner, she would shovel down whatever was in front of her, and my dad as well, because you could really take my dad. He didn't even care if you put my dad in a fancy restaurant and then brought him like a bowl of pasta from Chowchilla Women's Prison and put it in front of him. He'd be like, "This pasta is magnificent. It's absolutely magnificent."
Well,
And
neither
he
of
would
them
shovel
had
it
taste
down.
buds. I think
No.
they were just dulled
They
by
just
the vodka, and it was just well,
Right.
it was done. It was like, well, that
They
looks
loved
great.
the vodka. That's true.
Yeah.
And so everything they ate, as long as it was nighttime, put a black screen in front of the window and it's nighttime, and then they'll eat. It has to be dark out. There's no 6 o'clock. It's got to be pitch
Oh,
black.
no.
And then they'll eat and they'll shovel, lobster, a bucket of pasta, whatever is there. Or sushi, they
Right.
love
But
it.
you mentioned your mother, because it was funny about her. Yeah, she'd have the little toast, the papaya, and then like nothing,
Nothing.
because she was getting ready
Like
for dinner. 'cause that's
9
what-
o'clock at night when it
Right.
was time for dinner, because they
Time
like
for
to
dinner.
eat eating late, dinner very late. Mhm.
Yeah. So she'd get out, she'd have the food. And it's like if we went to, let's say, like a lobster place, like the Palm or whatever, and you and I, well, we eat during the day. We're snacking on this. We're having a regular lunch.
That's
Not
right.
them. So they get there. And your dad was fairly like he would have lunch or what have you. And he often cooked his own breakfast.
Well, yeah,
which
he
always amazed me.
he would go in and try in the kitchen and try to look for food, anything. Everything was
yeah.
wrapped in silver foil. So, there were little balls of foil in the fridge, and you had to guess, was there lox inside? Was there, a piece of chicken, something like that.
Right. It was always Hanukkah in the refrigerator.
He loved going in there and figuring out, what he could eat. But my mother, no, she never ate during the day.
No. So she'd get to dinner and she was always famished. So, but still, they had to wait for the menu.
That's
so you
right.
get to the restaurant, and as hungry as she probably was, it was like, we're having drinks and don't show us the menu. We don't want to see the menu. Hold on.
Oh, yeah. We never can look at the menu because they already know what they're having. Now, forget, maybe we want to look, maybe Ed and myself want to look at the menu. We're not looking. No, there's no looking at the menu.
No
we
looking.
Already know what we want.
Right.
So we had to just quickly think of something that we wanted. And my mother would always want a 45-pound lobster for herself. If we said, can we have a tail? Okay, jump in, sure.
That's what I'm saying. It's just like she would order whatever, the 45-pound lobster, and they'd, wheel it in on a cart. And she'd, have the whole thing in front of her, and her arms would spread out wide, and she was so happy.
Right.
And then
she would
order.
Suck that lobster down like there's no tomorrow. Right.
So we would order like a 3-pound and split it. Because, we had a regular lunch during the day and we probably had a snack at 3 o'clock.
That's right.
So, and your mother looked at us like, what's wrong with you? And it's like, well, we're just splitting the lobster. Like we're, cheap bastards and we don't want to pay for the lobster.
Mom, could I have a little bit of the tail? That's my tail. That's my tail. I'm eating that. And then she would suck down every little bit of that lobster, like, forget it, like she was
There was no food sharing.
No, there was no sharing. I mean, it's just like you got a bucket of food and you ate that. And that's the thing, like even when we used to go to Vegas and my dad would do 2 shows a night, like one at 8 o'clock and one at 10:30. So we would eat dinner at 9:30 at night. And I just got used to that in between the 2 shows, like a big, big dinner. I mean, this is years and years ago, but like a big dinner, steak, Caesar salad that they made at the table, a whole dinner. And then, the second show. So I had to get into the mindset of eating dinner very late at night. Now I have a lot of problems with GERD and, a lot of stomach issues. So I can't really do that like I used to do when I was 15. But
no, when I met you, you were powering it down. And I thought, wow, she's impressive.
Yeah.
But that was a while ago. But our bodies change. I mean, you can't just eat what you want. I mean, it's just the way it is.
That's right.
We're not kids.
We're not kids anymore.
But the food thing has always been a big part of our lives, and it's always been hilarious watching your parents eat. Whereas my parents, whom nobody knows from this podcast, but they grew up in smaller towns, and my dad would work and come home, and it was gotta eat. It was 5 o'clock, let's have dinner. And of course, we're kids, so we're hungry. We're hungry all the time. And so it was very normal. So when I married into this family, this Rickles family, I was like, what's going on?
You found out that eating was the center of life.
Center of life, but they put it off like it's, we'll do this at Easter or something, or,
very
Shavuos.
late, yeah.
So we'll do this we'll do this at some other point. And I thought, God, I just want to eat already, So we'd finally get to a restaurant. Well, the funniest was Thanksgiving.
Oh, right.
For me. Most of the country, I'd say probably 80% of the country.
That's true, you're right.
They eat in the afternoon, 3 o'clock, whatever.
Right.
So they have time to watch the football game and sit and fart and burp and, act like fools for the rest of the afternoon and fall asleep on the couch. No. We had to go to a restaurant at 8 o'clock.
That's right. And actually, we would go to the restaurant oftentimes with Bob Newhart and his family.
Right.
We were, as some people know, my parents, our families, we grew up together. My parents were best friends with the Newharts. So we would share every holiday, Thanksgiving, and then we'd go into their Catholic holidays, Easter, and we would do Hanukkah together, and it was all back and forth. So yes, we did go to this restaurant in Malibu.
Right.
Okay, called Beau
I think
Rivage.
it was Beau Rivage. And I thought, I've always wanted to go there. I thought that's a lovely spot. That'd be nice. It had kind of like an outdoor entrance on PCH, and you walk in, and Bob and Jenny Newhart, they didn't particularly like eating late either.
No, they didn't. But they did it more for my parents.
Exactly.
They knew my parents loved to eat late. And usually my dad, like whatever, what are we going to do? My dad was kind of the last word because he was the loudest and more like a child than any of the others. So
right. So during the day on Thanksgiving, you know, I was forced to sort of sit around and watch football and eat like chips. And I thought, well, this is not what I grew up doing, but I'll go with it. Let's play with this one. So we get to the restaurant. It's 8:00 at night. You know, the Newharts look like they're falling asleep, and I'm famished at this point. I've got to eat, but there's no one there. Everyone's gone.
Because everyone ate early. So
Everyone ate at
ones in the
6 or
restaurant.
5 or 4. We're the only people there. And I thought,
My parents didn't care about that. No.
They didn't care. I still remember your dad's face when we sat down going, this is fantastic.
What, because there was no one there?
There was no one there.
Right.
And they just had the restaurant to themselves as if the chef was going to make them, you know, a very special
The chef
meal.
like fell all over them, exactly.
They would fall all over them, and your parents were just absolutely thrilled with it. And, you know, we get home at 11:00 at night. The rest of the world is asleep. But, you know. That's
And then, you lay there with tons of turkey and stuffing up to your chin in bed, which is always very relaxing and also very comfortable when you're trying to go to sleep. Yeah.
Right.
And my dad would be like, that was a magnificent meal.
Jesus Christ. Yeah. It was unbelievable.
They didn't care. Right.
Well, as everyone knows, we like to do part of our show and feature a clip of your dad. And we thought this one might be fun. Now, let's set this up a little bit. It was Ronald Reagan's second inauguration.
That's right.
Right? And he had asked Frank Sinatra, who, of course, was close to your dad, both your parents. And Frank said, well, we have to have Don Rickles be on the show, too.
That's right.
This would be, right there at the inaugural ball, the 50th presidential inauguration.
Right. My dad was absolutely thrilled out of his mind because he didn't know Reagan, and there was no way he was getting to an inaugural without without somebody like a big star like Frank going, listen, I want Don Rickles there, because Frank loved my dad. Exactly.
So you guys were, when you got the call from Frank.
Right. We were in Hawaii with the Newharts because we traveled with them all the time. And I was very young. I'm going to say 13 or something.
Yeah, maybe, 13, 14 years old.
Right.
You're probably right, 13, because that would have been early
right?
85.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think.
Not 85. No. It was much before that.
No. This was at the 80th. This is the second inaugural in 80. Yeah,
this should all be cut. Wait, so what year would this be?
This is funny.
Wait, what year would this be? It wouldn't be 85. I wouldn't have been that old.
He was inaugurated on, it says right here, on January 19th, 1985. So you were almost 19 years old.
Wow, I thought I was really young.
Well, you were a young 18.
Okay.
So you it was like, wow, this had to have resonated with you a little bit. It was like, wow, Dad's going to Washington for this thing. Did you go? You didn't go, did you?
No, just my parents.
Right. But you got called out of Hawaii, which I'm sure pissed you off.
No, I don't know. My mother had some story that I picked up the phone and I was like, something from the White House. Like I could have cared less, which I don't remember this. That's how they got the call that he was going to do the inaugural. But there was no leaving Hawaii. It wasn't at the same time as Hawaii.
Oh, you know what? I think you're right because, Hawaii would have been around Christmas and this was 20 days after the New Year. You're right. Okay. So you didn't have to go leaving Hawaii. But,
no.
Hey, that makes for a great damn story. It's like we got called out of our trip. We had to go to D.C.
Yeah.
Okay, so that didn't happen, but he ended up going, of course. And he was introduced on stage. Well, let's go to the clip. He was introduced on stage by Emmanuel Lewis.
Who was a big star then, who was a little child.
Just a little child, and he was short in stature, obviously. He was
really
quite short.
And he had a big TV series.
Right. And your dad played on this. So let's play the clip and we can stop whenever you want, honey. Here we go.
Mr. Don Rickles.
Look how he ran. He ran.
Oh, yeah.
He was in good shape at that point.
He was generally in good shape.
Be funny.
First black kid I ever saw that'll definitely never play basketball. I asked you, huh? 40 million stars. I get a little kid out here, doesn't know what time it is.
Yeah, he's talking to the conductor.
Yeah, he's talking to the conductor, which he often did on his act.
Right, that's just so you know he's not talking to the president there.
No. You get out here, he would never do that.
Right.
But no, he's always talking to the music people. He loved bands. He loved the guys. And he was always chatting them up first.
Exactly.
made him comfortable, kind of got him going. And so here's the rest of that.
Big shot for me. Last night we had Bush. Well, I'll tell you this. He was great. Did you see him and the wife after the show? He was in the lobby going, nobody knows me.
Speaking to Reagan.
I gave him a cookie. He went away. He didn't know what time it was. I'll be with you in a minute. I'll tell you this. Did you see some of his movies? Stiffs. I'll tell you this. How this guy became president. When he was governor, I couldn't get in touch with him. I had a cousin, did 3 months in the county jail. I made a phone call. I said, give me a break. He was too busy, tied up, wouldn't make that. He's now doing 14 years, and he's the president of the United States, sitting in the White House with Nancy, walking around going, Art Rickles' cousin is doing a lot of time. Good evening, Mr. President. Nice to see you, sir. And your lovely wife, Nancy. It's a big treat for me to fly all the way.
Meaning there was no money.
That's right.
And the thing about my dad, if I could say here for a second, he would do this kind of thing. People were always like, oh, who wrote his material? Or when he wrote his material, no one wrote for him ever. And
Right.
he really didn't write down his material. It's like he would go into something like this and it was really, he might have a couple of ideas in his head, but it was really just the energy of the crowd and the excitement that would get him going. And then his mind would just work really fast. And, a lot of this stuff would just come from right off the top of his head. It would just come out.
Yeah, and he'd sit there. I remember seeing him when he came out to the house, and he'd sit there with Nelson, his old music director,
Right.
and listen to the act together.
Right.
Just
And then
keep it
just
in his
kind
head.
of, and think about things about Reagan, but didn't write anything. And he just thought, when I get out there, it's just going to come to me. And that's really how it was
Really
with
amazing.
things like this. Yes,
Yeah,
it was
very,
amazing.
very brave when you think about it. Yeah.
See, I still got the tuxedo marked down. Anyway, you need 38 tags to get in here. 38 tags. The Secret Service is walking around the lobby. Did you see the president? Anybody see the president? Where's the president? The president's with Nancy in the hall going, let's try it one more time. Remember when you were governor and you used to walk over to my table? Now you're big and you're getting on my nerves. I'll tell you this. Is he laughing? If you see Marines coming towards me, go into glory, glory, hallelujah, and shoot Webster.
Webster's the little kid.
Right.
See you, Secretary Schultz. What are you doing in town?
Anyway was a big segue line for my dad. It was just, a way to, like a lot of comics, of certain things that they say to like kind of move them into the next thought. And he just always said, anyway, or like, I'll tell you this. Let me tell you this. Anyway, gang, anyway. So you'll always hear him saying that. It's just a way to kind of get to the next thought without just doing it very abruptly.
Yeah, and it breaks up the rhythm a little bit.
Exactly.
And you can take a pause without just pausing.
That's right.
It's like, yeah.
What's going on? Get busy.
Talking to George Schultz.
Go over to the embassy. Have a bucket of beluga.
Anyway.
Secretary of State's here. And Billy Graham, nice to see you, sir. This hand is bothering me. Anyway.
That could have been right off the top of his head.
Easily.
Could have been a picture if I talked to this guy. It's great, though. I make fun of the president. Why not? I make fun of everybody in the world. That's America. Laughing, Charlton Heston. I'm a friend. It's over. I'll tell you this. If you were Moses, I was a Mau Mau fighter pilot. Elizabeth Taylor was backstage in a Cleopatra outfit killing snakes. I'll tell you this. And Tom Selleck was under the shower going, look at this, the water runs up. I'll tell you this. Is this too fast, Ronnie? Anyway, he's sitting there looking at the program going, where does he say he makes fun of me? Where does it say that? It's only a joke, Mrs. Reagan. They got real guns. I spoke to the hospital, Nelson. You died about an hour ago. I say this, though. Is this too fast, Secretary Schultz? What do you talk to that Russian about? You must sit... Look at the way you dress. The tuxedo's out of style. Class it up a little bit. He's wearing a fake dickie when the button goes boom. Mr. President, get some guy that's a little hep. Get some guy walking in. Let's talk, man. Let's talk. He's 90. Let's have a meeting.
He's walking very slowly.
Right.
That's what they do in Florida, the old Jewish folks. Hold the elevator doors.
He would do a lot of physical stuff, a lot of
Oh, yeah.
physical. So like when he said, hold the elevator doors, he's walking like very, very slowly. And he did a lot of very funny physicality, which was a huge part of his act.
I personally voted for Wilkie. But I'll tell you this. To you, Mrs. Reagan, lovely Mrs. Reagan, to you, our dear president, may God be good to you and yours for the coming 4 years and beyond that. You're a great gentleman and a great credit to the country. May he give you health, the Almighty, and may you reign as long as you wish. God bless.
Yeah, I mean, very sincere and all that.
Rain would be perfect now, aligned to
Wouldn't
Senator
it?
Trump. May you reign.
Oh, I love that. I love that word. Rain,
but
King
yeah.
Rain.
He always liked to end, and he would do this in his act also. I kid you, I love people and whatever. And the same kind of thing, obviously at the end with Reagan, he would always do something soft and very nice to like let you know this is all a joke. I
Right.
don't mean this. I'm really a nice guy, which is what he sang in his act all the time. I'm a nice
Yeah.
guy. That was his
And he
song.
was. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, he treated people very well.
Yes. But that was actually his true personality, when people thought
Yeah.
he was mean or whatever. That at the end that's my dad. That's what I really saw as the person he was, that he really, loved people and he was a really good, kind person. And that always
Yeah.
showed through, I think.
I don't think anyone like Sinatra would have invited him to do this thing for Ronald Reagan, whom they both knew, and if he was just going to be mean the whole time.
Exactly.
There
Yeah.
was just no sense in that.
And
that's the
yeah.
one thing. When Carson always called him Mr. Warmth, it was not really that sly of an insult or anything. He was a warm guy.
Oh, yeah.
And it's
for
like,
sure.
yeah, and it came through. And that's why these friendships of his lasted so long. I mean, he was always joking with Reagan when he ran into them later with Schwarzenegger. Remember we were at Cafe Roma at some point?
Oh,
and
yes.
Remember? And then Schwarzenegger was sitting there with his, cigar.
A whole
and just
long table of
holding court.
worshipers. Exactly.
That's right. And he walks up, and of course they knew each other and recognized each other. And the one line he always gave governors is like, you know what? I got a cousin in Folsom. Can you just get him out of there? He didn't deserve to be there. He didn't do anything. Come on.
Yeah.
And he'd laugh every time,
Right, right.
yeah. And he did that with Reagan, I'm sure, when he was governor. And it was just the thing, And they just loved him for it because he'd always end it with a smile. So it was great. Anyway, honey, hey, that's another one. Look at that. We have 2 episodes.
It's so great. I'm very excited. I'm having the best time.
I'm exhausted. It's unbelievable.
I love spending this special time with you, honey.
Oh, me too, sweetie. And then and with your dad, the memories that he brings and the fans
That's right.
love this, I'm sure.
I know.
So
I love
that's
sharing
all really-
this with everybody.
Okay, so this is Mindy, Ed, and Don Rickles, episode 2. And we'll see you next time. Thanks for listening.
See you next time.